All right, all right, all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talking That Talk Official Podcast, where we're uncomfortable and comfortable conversations. I am your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
What's good, everybody? I go by the name of King Exodus. Thank you for tapping into the show. Make sure you engage into the conversation and share the love. All right. You
All
ready?
right, y'all. Hope everybody's been having a good week. You know what I'm saying? Everything's been going according to plan. Everything's been progressive again. Oh, man, we got a couple lives at five starting off right now, man. I think I'm going to start off with this one, man. King James has been seen on a podcast letting loose these days. Now we have known LeBron James for being a very clean image, squeaky clean, a father figure, one of the individuals that walk around like I said, God has touched him so beautifully that no sin has ever touched him at all. Uh, as a person that's a real big LeBron James fan, I always say, listen, there's transformation stages that everybody go through. Meaning, like sometimes some people want to get rid of a certain image or a certain lookout as they have for themselves for past times. I always say there's a times where people enter the game when people are ready to exit the game. And during the podcast episode, we got to hear a little bit about LeBron James cutting loose. The brother said, "Hey man, some of these bitches is cutthroat." You can see how everybody in that room was shocked, astonished to see him speak the way he has always done. He has always conducted himself as a professional on the field, outside of the field. We can see altercations that he was in, how he always tried to look at the situation and walk away, be the bigger person. Or, people looking at it like, can he be positioning himself for something off the field? I said field. I would say, can he also be, what I'm saying, looking to my fault. Something just popped up. Oh, I got distracted. I'm so sorry. Can you look at it and position itself for something else, podcast wise, off? Let me say this. I'm happy he's speaking his mind now. It's so much that I have seen people try to have a squeaky clean image that it actually messes with them for doing anything else. As if that, nothing can be wrong. Nothing can be bad. Y'all forget people are humans. It's so much. I remember even times where seeing women that who never use vulgar language or anything like that, they get to a point where they get so upset, like, hey, when they release it, everybody's shocked, like, oh my God, I never thought you did that. Hey, listen, everybody has a pushing point. Men too. It's times where black men, like, we know we got to conduct ourselves a certain way when we're in certain areas and environments, and that be that voice in your head, like, nigga, if we wasn't here, you already know what we're going to. But everybody has a breaking point or a let it loose point. At the end of the day, I'm just happy. Like, hey, LeBron's talking that talk. Let that man live. That's all I got. That's all I got for my team. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. I think LeBron is he's raising his stock possibly in the podcast world. Maybe when he retires, he can transition into something like that. I think it has a lot to do with age, no doubt. Um, whether a man is kind of into like the Corey Holcomb type of content or Kevin Samuels or, eventually a man in the spotlight is going to start speaking his mind. Eventually. LeBron has positioned himself in ways to where I think the most he would speak out on would be like politics.
Mm,
So he positioned himself, possibly to build up his net worth, his assets, enough to speak his mind. Everybody doesn't follow this narrative, but I heard somebody say, I come from humble beginnings, not to be humble for the rest of my life.
mm.
So when you get into different types of statuses of income and evaluations, yeah, eventually you're gonna start speaking your mind. That's why a lot of people, some people aren't offended by some of the things that uh, Trump says, for example, because they're like, okay, he's a billionaire. It does become a time where people with high net worths do begin to speak their mind freely. So um, that's all I got on that. Shouts out to LeBron. Tell it like it is. I ain't gonna say my other comment about that. We talked about it before the episode.
Hey, man. Let that man speak, man. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Ladies, just talk. He's just talking, bro.
Like
Leave
he
that man
picked someone. He
alone.
picked someone.
But at the end of the day, bro, do you think that the comment is true, or do you feel like he's just commenting to make gossip?
Uh, he said that with his chest, dog. So he said that with his chest. Um, that sounds like that came from a genuine place. That don't sound like the bros be talking and I'm speaking for them kind of talk. But um, yeah, I mean, let's keep it real. These are athletes, you know what I'm saying? So they see a whole different side of, you know, women throwing themselves at them and doing all type of things. So yeah, I don't.
Wait, what you said?
No, I don't have no problem with it.
No,
But
okay. I ain't got no problem with it either. Man spoke the truth.
yeah. So
All right. Man. Did you want to do the next topic?
yeah. So next on the list we have Stephen A. Smith. He's been getting disrespected for quite some time now. It's nothing new, but so the latest rant was him stating his dispositions towards Jasmine Crockett, uh, Democratic politician,
And
technically.
AOC. Yeah, put AOC in there.
And so the shockwaves became that he's a coon, which people have already said that, but he's disrespecting black women. He's not part of the culture. People have always said that. So these type of things happen now to where it's like black people in particular want this society to where we're free. We're free thinkers. We speak our mind, freedom of speech. We shouldn't be held back uh, based on our opinions, but when our opinions doesn't fit the narrative of the collective of the group of people we claim to come from, now that group attacks us. And I say us because if you're not, most likely in today's world, if you're black, if you're not Christian, you're not Democratic, that's the real double negative. It's not a double negative being black and being a woman. The double negative, as far as our culture today, is how do you think? If you don't fit these check boxes, then you're not accepted. And this is kind of tying to the main event. But needless to say, that man has the right to um, state factual information about a politician, bring up her background, her track record. He has the right. He has the right to not agree with her political dispositions. He has that right. It's not disrespectful if he keeps it uh, along the terms of facts and his opinion because he speaks about politics. So when you have somebody who says things like, what's the bucket list? Uh, just because people come over here illegally, it doesn't mean they participated in a crime. Like you said, if people came over here illegally, keyword illegally, well, that's a crime. This is the same person that says just because a person commits a crime, they're not a criminal. I'm like, so she has a great bucket list of things that to the just the average thinking person doesn't mathematically equate to common sense. It is what it is. She says a lot of things that are dumb. We're just gonna keep it G. And she said Stephen A. Smith has little dick energy. I'm being, I mean, she cursed him out literally on air. She curses all the time. That's not the way a respectful adult handles themselves. That's not the way a politician should handle themselves. So you can't build a whole career off of being loud, black, ghetto, and you're none of these things. You went to a private school. You didn't come from the ghetto. You didn't come from the hood. This is an image that they're giving her to fit to the collective of black people. So that's them saying, oh, this is what appeases the black people. She got to look like this. She got to talk like that, knowing that that's not where she comes from. Kamala does the same shit. 1 minute she's Indian, 1 minute she's South Asian, 1 minute she's black. She was never black her whole career until she ran for office. And then she got an accent for every group of race of people that she belonged to. She switches her voice. Like these people literally will appeal to the images of the people that they're, trying to get their votes from. So I think it's disrespectful for, I think it was Steven Jackson, Willie D to have this disposition that as a black man, you have to agree with a black woman publicly. When we come from a culture of, for one, black men were supposed to be in the forefront anyway. So, okay, maybe he shouldn't publicly critique her. Maybe that's should happen behind closed doors, but let's just keep it real. He speaks about content, so that was part of his content. He's a content guy. And then the next bill about Stephen A. Not to go on too long, but he spoke about Serena Williams' husband because of her halftime performance with Kendrick and giving shade to her ex Drake. So her husband gets on First Take. Stephen A's not there. He like, yo, Stephen A, I hear you got marriage advice for me. And everybody like, oh, see, he called him out and Stephen A, cowered down. And this is where I'm confused. When Dame Dash jumps out the window, people say that's not how you're supposed to handle yourself. But then this guy goes to Stephen A. job to attack him about something he said previously. So Stephen A.'s supposed to jump out the window. I'm like, what do you want? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just putting out there, man, like as black people, as anybody, as a human being, as an American, you have the right to vote for who you vote for. You have the right to choose your religion. You have a right to choose who you want to be and how you want to handle yourself. As long as you're not disrespecting other people, hey, do your thing.
Oh man, beautifully said. Good job, brother. When it comes to Stephen A. Smith, I'll be honest, man. I just agree with what he said. One thing he did was went down the tunnel of facts. He said, "Listen, gas prices is going on right here. You haven't seen the cutbacks and stuff because you're not paying attention to it because it's happening before your eyes. Milk and eggs been cut down 10 to 12%. Like I said, he gave out all the statistics and data to everything. So when he starts mentioning the other candidates and he's giving you the data behind it, I was like, do y'all not see the transition of what he used the economy to tell the facts of what's going on, where you can identify the changes, and when he just moves the goalposts to something else, it should be easy to transition from that as well of knowing you're getting facts. But these days, if you say anything and it doesn't align with people, it's always your hater. You got this going on. We're getting I believe public image wise, or just public, people are too sensitive. You know what I'm saying? There's always the things that gets the alliance that we always have with black men and black women in certain dispositions or certain positions that we should be aligned on this, but hey, it's okay if they do this. Like one of the biggest things that we got to be completely honest is black men been disrespected so much in media so much. It's the go-to, even if the information is false, people will still run with it. But here it is. If we speak about the other counterpart or other sex, it's always something problematic. Anybody should be able to comment on anything. There's no such thing as this is off limits. No, everything's on the table. This is what you get paid to do. This is what you get paid to talk about. This is the conversations where you be trying to have at your dinners and families, and you be like, man, if I do this, everybody gonna look at me strange instead of addressing the issues, which can get to deeper solutions. I literally watch. Sometimes I watch situations where a village defended one individual, and they gave the scenarios based on what that person was going through, and that person could have spoke for themselves. But that person understood to not speak and let the village protect them from what the opposing person was saying, and that spoke a lot to me. Meaning that if I can tell you what that person was going through, and that person's not speaking for themselves, to actually confess, like, hey, this is what I really was experiencing. We're gonna run with scenarios every day. One of the things I remember, and I did a table not too long ago. I was talking about, the power of the nuclear family. Black men and black women being together, certain things like this. There's only so much you can do as a black woman, so much things you can do as a black man. And I remember just one of the comments ended up saying, like, hey, from what I see, black women do great. And it kind of struck me because the majority of everybody at the table was single and a black woman. I was like, but I know y'all personally to know y'all struggle with a lot of things. But when y'all had men to handle those situations, it was appreciated. It was grateful. It was everything. It's as if the man is there to provide and shield you only for your benefits. But when he's removed, hey, listen, we did majority of this on our own. Like, I'll be like, yo, I'll be damned for you to feel like because you did enough that you put your child or your situation in a better conditioning than what it was when you had a man with you. And that was one of the things I didn't agree with. I was just like, bro, that's crazy. Like to have that happen in front of my face and say, oh, we did pretty good on our own. I was like, I know y'all stories though. I see the difference between how well y'all moved when y'all had somebody versus when y'all didn't have anybody. And we always talk about the matriarchy for a reason because if it's multiple women that's part of a matriarchy, they have an alliance with each other. Meaning one struggle, hey, we're all going to help each other out. But if they're all struggling, all hell breaks loose. And then that's when I have seen the conversations of what men don't do, what men should do, fire at the mouth, but you choosing the route that you chose. That's always confusing to me right there. I don't know if I did a rant too long or not, but just putting some stuff on the table. So, last subject on the table we got right here is Marlon Wayans and Julia Fox interview. Uh, Marlon Wayans was asked a specific question. He said, hey, listen, what is a real man? As he's speaking, he keeps getting interrupted by the co-host, Julia Fox. He's like, hey, well, a real man to me. And she said, well, what is a real man? Like, can you imagine being next to somebody and as they're asking you a direct question for you to answer, they speak for you? We call that being rude. We call that being disrespectful. And you could see it in this man's face how badly he was irritated. But he understood he's in a public setting where things matter on how you speak about things and how you should let things roll off your shoulders. Now everything needs to be rolled off the shoulders. I believe sometimes things need to be corrected right then and there. But we have it to a point where if men be men these days and try to stop people from interjecting them, then it's seen as rude, toxic, toxic masculinity. Oh, he shouldn't have done that. But if I cannot get my thoughts out and speak what I want or what I was directly asked on, that's already a problem within itself. Who's going to check the other individual on, hey, listen, that's rude. That's disrespectful. It's not your turn to speak. This is why even when we talk on here, you got to notice, one of us always talks at a time. And it'd be small times where you see us like do this and that, but we always let each other clear the floor when it comes to the direct questions, expressing oneself, and doing things of that nature. So, to the men out there that was watching it, everybody said that was rude and disrespectful for the woman to be right there and interject as he's trying to express what a man is, but she's sitting there trying to tell a man what a man is. That's just like a woman saying, trying to tell men, you can't tell me what a woman is because I'm a woman. Well, how can you interject when a man's asked what is a man, and then you want to tell that man what a man is? They're like,
Well, he should have hit him. Take flow.
hey man, take that back, bro. I got people looking at me.
Some you got out on bah. You know what I'm saying? Old school 1970s slap. Backhand. No, I'm just playing. I mean, pretty much you nailed it. It just goes back to before it's masculine and feminine. It just go back to respect. I mean, it can go back to when your parents told you speak when spoken to. He was asked a question, let him answer it. No matter how she felt emotionally about it, she should have, if she felt she had something to say, she should have let him give his full take on that. But, the key part about that is that's a question that she couldn't even answer. That's a woman. So only a man can answer that question. And that's why they ask a man the question. So, yeah, very disrespectful, but it's an example of what happens daily nowadays with, the respect dynamics between men and women. It's just too much comfort now. It's like going back to the Stephen A thing. People are literally moving the goalpost on what respect is, what's freedom of speech. They even trying to get the dude fired from his job because he doesn't agree with Democrats. And if you listen to the narrative that he talks from, he's telling you he really rocked with Democrats for a nice portion of time. But based on the actions that have been taking place and facts that he's looking into, he's been saying for the past couple of years, hey, maybe we need to reevaluate who's who, which is intelligence. So, like I say, people are weaponizing free speech left and right. You even have it to where YouTube came out. Mark Zuckerberg came out and was like, "Yeah, the Biden campaign specifically asked me to censor information about the the C-19 and and the vaccinations and all that." Like people are actually coming out and saying like, "Yo, these people weaponize my platform." So, yeah, it's just we just got to get back to respect, and emotional intelligence. We always talk about it, but if you don't agree, it's not the end of the world, and you still can allow other people to think differently than you. So and 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 steamroll it into the main event. Live at 5 is over. Can the youth preach? So Kurt Franklin has this podcast, Den of Kings, and yeah, NLE Chopper, uh, Jonathan Majors, Ray J, and I don't know who the other guy was. So NLE Chopper was pretty much giving his deliberations on religion, his connections with God, being in tune with nature, health, grief, just his total transformation into the man that he's becoming at 22 years old. So pretty much the main theme of the show was every guy except Kurt Franklin was pretty much telling him that based on his age, he should just shut up and listen. We opened up with Stephen A. We brought up Marlon Wayans being disrespected. It's a reoccurring thing to where if your viewpoints don't fit the narrative of the collective or the majority at that time, then you should just shut up. Then some people move it to, well, based on your sex, you should sit there and shut up. Not saying that you're being disrespectful or respectful, but people are going to move the goalposts on when you should sit down and shut up. So his, in this particular case, was based on his age, and his viewpoints were out of the norm. Now, everybody at that table said they experienced, for example, religious trauma. I was forced into Christianity. I was forced to see the world like this. And they were saying, based on their experiences, the forced religion didn't always deliver the answers that they needed right on time. So they experienced grief, they experienced heartbreak, stress, and all these different things that tore them apart. So here this guy is, NLE Chopper, is saying, well, this is the way you should go about it. This is what I went through. This is how I overcame it. And of course, sit there and shut up. You're too young to talk. So my full deliberation on that is like, keep in mind, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King died at 39 years old. The guy that they were getting offended by NLE Chopper's remarks, Jesus Christ died at 33. And we can go on down the list. We can go on from the Black Panthers, the ages of the people that started the party. The majority of those people that participated were teenagers, young adults. Even Ray J, for example. Bro, you claim to be Paru. The whole gang thing from LA was started by who? Teenagers. So we pick and choose when we can listen to the youth and when it's not. But when you're wrong and someone's more intelligent on a specific topic, not totally in life, but on a specific topic, then you want to shift the conversation to age because you don't want to be wrong. So we'll open up the conversation on that. I'll let you give your thoughts.
Oh man, I enjoyed the whole episode. Got to watching it twice, and one thing I noticed within the episode is like this disgruntled and the faces people are making while that man is speaking. It's as if they're looking at him like, yeah, you're knowledgeable, but hey, I don't know if you should be talking. And one thing I admire about the young man was he remained poised. He remained emotionless. He spoke, he cleared. The way he positioned himself at the table, he wasn't doing all the expressions with the body and language. He was still in what he was speaking. That's a certain level of training and attunement and enlightenment you have to have with yourself to know how to remain and still no matter what happens. And I think a lot of people dismiss how much energy comes with that, with remaining still when you're giving your views and points and the people are opposing you. It's not supposed to move you emotionally. You're still supposed to be able to have a conversation respectfully And one of the things I said we noticed, was the fact when they asked him questions, he actually could answer them. It was as if, oh man, he got an answer for everything. Well, why keep asking him questions if he actually knows what he's talking about? And that was one of the things I wasn't understanding. Is this has been a thing since my childhood as well, and I might be with X, but it seems as if when the youth actually knows what they're talking about, it seems as if you got to keep telling them keep on living. Yeah, we understand that, but if what I said at 10, 15 actually connects with you, are you just going to tell me because of your guy 30 or 40, oh man, he's very knowledgeable? Did you not hear that? I said the same thing. I'm just younger. And that's why it's not took it into a full account of where I'm at within that age. And I think that's a big thing that we got to be able to uh, notice when it comes to people. It's like, yo, are you still only listening to people around you? I always said I learn from everybody, young, my age, older, people I should learn. I mean, should listen to, and people I should listen to. Everybody has a key point of knowledge that you can take away. But to see how the youth got shut down like that, I wasn't feeling that, bro. That's just me. I wasn't feeling that at all. It was like he spoke very elegantly. He spoke very intelligently. He wasn't even emotionally triggered. But all the older men are emotionally triggered on how this man is speaking at that table on King of Den. I mean, yeah, King of Den. What's that? Den of Kings. My fault. That's my fault, guys. Den of Kings. That said a lot.
Thieves.
All that keep on listen. The whole time, Kurt Franklin was so amazed. He said, "How old are you? How old are you? How old are you?" And let's not forget, even though he chose a non-denomination side, speaking with the Bible, he still connected everything he was speaking about to the Bible. He was giving out scriptures. He was giving out different things. It's as if and then they try to discredit him. Like, did you read the Bible? I was like, are y'all not listening to him?
Did you read about him?
Did you read the Bible? He's literally quoting scriptures. He's literally doing that. And I was just like, I'm not feeling it. And I think that's another reason why we have a separation within the youth and adults. It's because when the youth actually know what they're talking about, older people want to tell them they don't know what they're talking about. And you can clearly see they do, but they don't want to feel outshined by somebody younger than them. That's what I really think is going on. Because, like I said, it's the energy I was picking up at that table, as if everybody's speaking and trying to outshine one another. But there's actually somebody there who's not trying to outshine nobody. He's just literally sharing his thoughts.
Yep. And off of that, you have people try to outshine the next person, and then you have some people that just naturally do it. And that's what he did. He naturally outshined everybody. And I'll tell you this: one of the key things he said, "I can only give what man is willing to receive."
See, that was the biggest thing he said.
Yeah. I know I normally do my Kevin Gates shit, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And it gave me Kevin Gates vibes. But honestly, look, on one end, if the youth is gangbanging, selling drugs, hypersexual, negative to society, then you bitch and you complain about how destructive they are. Well, when they change their lives, become more productive citizens, and want to add to the collective of humanity, and upgrade the thinking mentality and spirituality of everybody, then that's a problem too. So it's just like, what do you want? It's like, what do you want? Like, this guy literally has changed his entire image, and instead of listening to, you know, one thing that age has to understand as far as older people versus younger people, everybody has a voice. Age and wisdom aren't synonymous all the time.
Mm-mm.
The way you come together as a collective of age groups, let's say by race, by community, whatever, family, is you take the experiences of the older people and the younger people, and you find similarities and differences. Now you begin to see, Okay, what made you go left at this age? What was left and right for you? What's left and right for me? Okay, now we can say, what were the environmental influences? What were the outside factors that led us both to these decisions and circumstances and situations? You have to take a scientific approach towards age and wisdom. It's not just, well, the older you are, the automatically smarter you are because you were here longer. That's not how it works. There are some things in life where you may be far advanced because of time, but time is not the end all be all. So imagine how many families, how many communities, black people by race. Imagine the advancement that everybody can have if people humble down and just take a scientific approach towards these type of situations.
Mm.
That's how you get answers through data, both sides connecting with each other. You know, even in politics, like as far as the black community, that's a red flag for a lot of people. It's like, not just in politics. Eventually, old people shouldn't be the face of anything anymore. It should
Mhm.
always be a younger person that's being prepped and put into that position, you know. But now we can see, like, it could be a job, it could be anything. A lot of the older people don't want to pass down the knowledge because they have the fear of losing power. Everything is based on power, power imbalances. You know what I mean? So when you see somebody that has information, despite their age, you need to listen as well. I've had these arguments, you know, I keep it G. I've had, you know, conversations like this with my father in the past. Uh, older men, period. And it's like, listen, fam, if I've done the research, I don't care. And that's people can say I'm arrogant, they can say whatever they want about me. One thing about me, if I look at the same information that anybody else got access to, I use my time to sniff through that information point for point, whether I agree with every part of it or not, and came to a logical conclusion. I'll be honest. I mean, 9 times out of 10, can't nobody tell me shit. Because my conclusion, if I came to a conclusion based on my opinion, then you can tell me something. But if I
Mhm.
use actual information and facts, the information is the information. You know what I'm saying? So once again, you can only give what man is willing to receive.
Mm.
So I would say for people out there, protect your energy. Find your tribe. You know, sometimes we have this it's not a hero complex, but sometimes people just naturally want to help people. So that also comes about in the way of passing down information. Hey, if I meet somebody younger than me, you know, let's say I'm working out, I meet a young dude at the gym. I'm not coming to him like, bro, let me sign you real quick. Let me show you what car I drive. No, 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 no. How old are you? Oh, I'm 24, 25, 26. All right, fam, look. Shit. I just give you mistakes that, hey, fam, like, you know, money gonna come and go. I just drop this with you. Make sure you find a way to study stocks. If you don't know nothing else, S&P 500, you're gonna fuck off a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So the best thing to do is to invest early, learn investment strategies, shit like that. Yo, you might want to get you a credit card or two. You know, only spend 15% of what you got. Don't really go over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, giving people actual wanting to see people surpass me. A lot of people give younger people information because you're trying to make yourself look good, but it's
Mhm.
when you're giving people information because you want them to do better.
Mhm.
Now, if you can have that energy for a stranger, then yo, this shifts society because people are actually concerned about the people that come behind them, whether you know them or not, whether that's your family, your blood or not. You know, and I hate it when people say, well, you know, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that. But that's going somewhere else. But I did the Asian wisdom. You can only get what man is willing to perceive, protect your energy. And I say another key thing that NLE Chopper brought up in his viewpoints. He said, look, he said, based on him studying the Bible, Jesus was a prophet. And he was saying that um he reached a point to where he felt like if we're made in the likeness and the image of the creator, then Jesus would be our brother. So he was like, people overemphasize the connection with Jesus and they don't focus enough on the connection with God. That's facts. Like, same thing with Islam. if you're more connected to Prophet Muhammad versus Allah, then the religion has failed you at that point, because it's all about people allowing you to, when you say you're a Christian, I mean you're just Christ-like things that Christ did. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that this person, and that's what NLE Chopper was saying, it's not that this person is just so far above you that you would never attain to be what he became. That means it's pointless for you to be in a religion if you can never attain what he attained. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do everything he did, biblically, what they say he did, but it's the point that you should strive towards that level of Christ's energy. That's what the last name means. It's a definition behind the last name. It's not a name. So you should be on that. If you study that religion, you should be trying to be like that. You should eat like he did. You should study how he lived and fashion your life after that. That's what it means to be Christ-like. When you practice Islam, that's what that's about too. So you can have these doctrines, doctrinations, and then you can have the doctrine. It's a big difference between the two. When you actually begin to read the books are guides to get you closer to God. They're not fascination books for you to start picking out superstars and superheroes. That's not what it's about. So if I offended anybody, my apologies, but eventually we got to have grown-up talks. These books were meant to get you to the levels of the people that you're reading about in the books. If you're reading the Bible and you're like, yo, Proverbs is dope, Solomon was wise. Well, why do you think you're reading Proverbs? To gain more wisdom, to be like who? The writer. So, that's it. That's it. I'll let you do your thing.
No, man, that was really spoken, because I was just going to piggyback off of it. It was always to be one closer to be connected to connection to God, and that's absolutely true. I always say, like, listen, if you don't believe in the Bible, it'll teach you how to build character. And I'm saying, guess what them same characters came from? People who was connected with God and followed his rules and regulations, the commandments, whatever it is. And I was just like, yo, it speaks a lot. You're starting to see a lot of individuals. Mario just said it not too long ago. He said when he first fasted, he starts seeing the truth between what it is to really fast, what it really is to go on these journeys and say. So when people used to hear about fasting from sun up to sundown, that was one thing, but the continuous fast, it delivers a different stillness within your body and brain. I remember when I first fasted. I'll never forget that, bro. You find the urges, you find sugar, you find all this other different things, but there's I want to say there's a gate that unlocks once you get past all that. You start seeing things a little bit more different. You start understanding things, and maybe it's because food is not in your stomach as much or whatever it is. But there's always a key in enlightenment that they always talk about once you are able to go past certain obstacles, once you're able to go past certain preventative things that's in your way. Like they said, you can't talk about how to be successful if you ain't never been a failure. You can talk about being a leader if you was never a follower. These are always steps that were always given in place for us to make the progress to get to where we want or where we need to be. One thing I always say is, listen, I don't want nobody around me who has never failed. Because look, when you fail, you're gonna crack it. And I don't know if you will ever come back from that. Do y'all not see how some of the most powerful people had these sons and daughters that was given success to them, and when they failed, they never came back? Some of them had to go get therapy. Some of them just was like, no, this is not for me. You never know the true shape for somebody until failure has came in. That's why they said, like, listen, yeah, you see me as a superstar, but you didn't see how many times I failed. You didn't see how many times I practiced. You didn't see how late I stayed up. You know what I'm saying? I still, you know what I'm saying? I still tell about, I told one of the homies one of my time about hustling days, bro. I said, bro, it was days where I wanted to make sure I completed a task to a point. I would sleep in my car until it was done. I was like just that eager to make sure, like, yo, what is it going to get to my next progression? Do I have to make myself suffer in certain ways, or do I just come back another day? And that's why I said sometimes people do self-inflicted wounds on themselves on a disciplined manner to see what it's going to take for them to realign themselves to get to the next way. And that's what they said discipline is one of the most key important things to ever get to the next steps. Some of us start things and end things right then immediately. Some of us can't go 20 days, 10 days, 7 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, a month, year. They always said, listen, that's why one of my favorite things I was given was what you do in these 10 years reflected what you have done in your past 10 years. You see it. You can literally see it in other people, right? It's like, hey, listen, I see you're 30 something now. I could tell if you're this age, there's certain things you skip within your 20s and your early teens that wasn't given to you. This is why they always say, listen, it's easy. You can easily identify people who have mommy and daddy issues. One of the biggest things that I think they said on that podcast was like, one of the biggest things with daddy issues is the ability to connect with other men and build relationships. I was like, yo, I resonate with that. You know, at one point in time, if you never had a man sit you down to how to connect with other men or just talk, then you're gonna have a hard time believing or trusting them. This is why sometimes when other men step into the picture, uh, depending on, you know what I'm saying, if your father was in your life or another man was trying to take your mom, first thing you did was look at him in a defensive measure. You wasn't trying to really build a relationship. You was really trying to protect your mom because you don't know how. You don't know his intentions. You don't know what it is to connect. This is why when I got older and I had to realign myself or reconnect with certain things that I seen within my life or with other people's lives and people that came about, I like, you know, hey, listen, I apologize for things I did as a child. And then someone would be like, yo, you was a kid, you didn't know any better. I was like, yeah, but I understand it now. And that's one of the things that people have yet to come to grips is, do you actually understand it now?
Mhm.
Or are you still somebody who's going to be in denial of the truth of what it really takes to keep going? You know, one of the things I put out there within the podcast, I said, listen, if more kids had some type of structure, regardless if there wasn't enough fathers in the world, I think other men would just be like, hey, look, I got you, man. Come on. Let me teach you. Let me do something. But structure's not in place, so it makes it more difficult to try to connect with a child than it is for that child to connect with that man. You got to always remember the person you're looking at as a child and adult is just the evolution of who you're going to become. So this is why it's key factors and importance of when you have somebody like NLE Chopper, 22. Do you really want people that's 22, 18, 16, looking up to the people that's just 35 and up? Or would you want them to connect with somebody that's younger, that's already going down the journey? So they're like, wait, he's right there. And he's like 4 years older than me, 5 years older than me. I can do it right now. I ain't got to wait till I'm older. That says a lot. It doesn't have to always be the older generation. Sometimes we need somebody who's already part of that generation to start making the changes. Because then that generation knows they can start now. They don't have to look up to the older generation. All right, Larry.
Um, I'll be the bad guy tonight. NLE Chopper and this religious thing, because it's like I don't think people understand the weight of this. What if I told you it was 12 to 16 other messiahs with the same story as Jesus? That shouldn't bother your faith. It shouldn't. When Jesus says things, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man coming into the Father by me, but by me. Okay, cool. People don't realize most of the New Testament was written by Paul or the Pauline apostles, which means these were letters that men wrote. So we don't even know if Jesus actually said all of these things, allegedly, that was said, because a lot of the things seem far left and far right. But also keeping into that narrative that if you fully want to become quote unquote Christ like, or if Jesus is your guy, well, you have lost books of the Bible, books that were taken out. Catholics got 72 books. Uh, Other people got 66 books. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so to be a complete Christian, read them all. Read the lost books. Read the Gospel of Jesus, so you can see what happened between 12 and like 30 something, because he's here at 12 and then he disappears. He comes back as a grown man. The lost books where you see the Gospel of Jesus, so you can see his full life. So these things shouldn't taint your faith. It should only you should just take these things in stride, that whether these stories were told prior or not, the point is, do you get the message? Like, I love Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Like, I love the laws of success and outwitting the devil.
That was the original one. That's the original one, Laws of Success. Mhm.
Can't tell me that God didn't touch that man and put that spirit on him to do that. You can't tell me that's not that same energy. You
Mm.
can't tell me when, Malcolm X spoke, that wasn't God's energy. So if we're all born within this creator's image and we could tap into that source and fully live out our purposes, first off, as a man, no matter what religion you follow or a woman, I would say, what is your purpose?
Mm.
You don't have a purpose, you don't have a destination in life, period. Regardless to
Mm.
who you go to,
Mm.
regardless to how many candles you light, how much sage you light, what kind of baths you take. None of that shit matters if you don't know who the fuck you are and why you're here. You're wasting time. So these narratives are here to guide you to source. That's all. That's all it is. Get to source. Whether it's Buddha, whoever gets you to source, do it. I love it when people say, "Yeah, like I'm into faith and spirituality," but it's a reason why I study martial arts because I find similarities. If I could train as a violent man, but utilize that energy to be positive, I feel like I'm overcoming something within myself. It's a reason why I box. It's a reason why I do these things. It's a reason why people study poetry and all these different things. And studying all the greats that came and excelled to these highest levels. You cannot tell me that these people weren't connected to some type of source. It's a reason why people aren't fascinated with like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm not saying they God and Jesus and nothing like that, but these people excelled past everybody else. So people are studying like, what did they do? When you study Kobe, he say, look, Phil was my coach. He was Jordan coach. One of the things he taught us was meditation. So I meditate at least 15 minutes a day. It taught me to be calm in chaotic moments. He's giving you these blueprints and you start to see, oh shit, he talking that talk. People eat a certain way. They meditate. They do all these things to tap into source just to get them to the greatest elevation of themselves
Mm.
and whatever their craft is. That's your godlike energy in that particular capacity. So the reason why people are so emotionally unintelligent and you want to attack everybody that don't agree with you is because you're not really connected to what you think you connected to.
Whew.
Because if you were, you'd be a better person. I ain't saying you'd be perfect, but you would have a purpose. You would know who you are. You would know why you're here. You would be able to be the best in your craft. You would be able to be a better father, better mother, better teacher, better whatever, because every day when your eyes are open, you would carry that same energy that Christ and Muhammad and all these people carry. But since you think you find safety in just saying their names, that's the trick. That's why you were given that. So don't fall in love with the story. The stories are allegories. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to get too far into the religious field, but Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, great guys. Love them both. Got pictures of them on my walls. They both changed my life. But their transitions, they went from average Black American boys, curious Black American men. Malcolm X was more of a criminal, but their transition and their opening point was the Nation of Islam. But they didn't stop there. That was just to open their eyes. A lot of people just get stuck at what opens your eyes, and you don't see the full scale of transitioning. You know what I'm saying? Most people, when they join a nation, they go from the nation, 5% nation. Maybe they become Sunni or Shiite. It's a progression. And then maybe eventually, years from that, they're not even Muslim no more. They found something else. There's nothing wrong with that. Always grow. Don't belong to any system. If the system cultivates you and you feel like that's your thing, that's fine too. But everybody grows and transcends things. So yeah, not to go too far and around on that, but the purpose of these things, the guidebooks, the personal development, the Vincent Van Peets, the Bob Proctors, and all these people, it's all to get you to a better version of yourself. That's all it is. And if you still think you belong to something that's higher than self, but you still have these chaotic tantrums, you're disrespectful, your family life is shit, your income is shit. I, yo, I don't think that's praising God. You know. I don't think that's praising God.
Gotcha. One of the biggest things in the chopper had said, Jonathan Mays was talking about the basically going through chaos at one point in time, and his girlfriend slash fiance slash wife stepped into the picture, was able to help him navigate through everything he was going through. He said, I find peace within my woman, and Lady Chopper said something that was very monumental. He said, "Listen, you shouldn't find peace within your woman. You should be able to find peace within God." I forgot the other thing he said.
Self.
And huh?
Self.
And self.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed like he was so emotionally triggered by that. It spoke volumes. And this is one of the key things we always have told men talking to younger men. It's like, listen, you don't find things in outside sources. You have to find it within yourself. This is where somebody can't take your desire, your purpose, the things that drive you to be who you are. If somebody else is your peace and that peace is taken, now you have nothing. Anything you give externally more value, you really don't possess anything internally. One of the things I remember my ex used to had told me one time, I had already kind of formulated how I wanted to live my life whenever I have a family. I said, listen, certain things I want to put into place. I said, listen, I had an ex of mine that used to learn how to massage. I already looked at massaging as key things, points within the body of healing it, touching it, getting knots out of it, releasing tension, circulating more blood within the body. Because we forget like certain things like that. So I was like, I always wanted to massage my woman, get to a point where my kids are in a situation I'm able to help that situation as well. And as I'm talking about that, I'm also start talking about my purpose. I'm driven. I'm looking to make X amount of money. I'm looking to accomplish certain things, enter certain realms, be in certain organization. And I remember she said something that I'll never, I'll never forget. She was just like, yeah, look, you already knew who you were going to be until I got here. It's not like I can motivate you to be more. And that's powerful because people still don't forget, like, the person you're with can still push you, but at the same time, there's things internally in you that still need to be able to get you to go there. Because that person's no longer there, that doesn't mean you stop. And that's something that's been rooted in me since a kid, a child. Is there's no such thing as stopping. Time keeps moving forward. There's no pause, there's no rewind, and there's definitely no skip. You know what I'm saying? Because there's days where you want to skip it, so you think because you slept a day away, you skipped a day. No, bro, you was unproductive and nothing moved forward in your life. You got to remember that. Nothing moved forward in your life just because you decided to sleep it away, other than the day. So when you start getting yourself in tune with self, everybody around you is either going to add to it or they're going to subtract to it. But it's important that you stay humble to yourself, but also know when to turn up when it comes to certain things. I learned about myself within a relationship we're talking about. I was like, listen, I'm not really a person that's chaotic. I don't like chaos. X even helped me in this situation. He's like, yeah, bro, this is, you're in a relationship now. You go through certain things. He says it's not like when you was at home with mom. Mom get on your nerves. You go in your room, you close your door. If you live with somebody, that energy sits in the house. It don't just sit. It just you can't escape it. So I'm like, damn, I ain't never look at it like that. That's what I'm saying. Like through chaos, like sometimes you can find yourself. Through peace, you can find yourself. But it's all about what are you gonna do to soul search. I always say soul search. I'm always looking for mentors, coaches, things I can fall back on, principles. If you're a good Christian, you got the Bible. If you're a good Muslim, you got the Quran. There's certain things you can fall upon to get you back on your path. This is what we call the foundation, the principles, codes, ethics, whatever you call it. I always have a source for me to fall back on if anything's going left in my life for me to get right back on track. So all I got there is like you have to be careful of what you're pouring your energy into, because the same things you pour into can also destroy you.
Correct. Same thing with the religion. You have people that's more in love with the religion.
This is like,
You have people that's more in love with the religion because of salvation. Let's keep it G. People find religion because they want salvation. Not salvation to be better, but salvation to fuck up more.
Mm.
That's why they cry. And they're like, oh, God, gone, all my sins forgiven. You know, eventually the lower natured religious person treats sin like a all you can eat buffet. Run the tab up. I'm forgiven. That's why they get the salvation. It's the same reason why some people join gangs. I want protection. I want the,
Mm.
you know, it's the same reason why people, it's you don't plan on transitioning to the highest level of the good side of it. You want to stay stuck in the safety net. Run this tab up, man. Like I hear people saying more I'm a sinner and a born sinner more than um, actually following principles and strict regiments of religious teachings. The Bible got dietary regiments, nobody followed it. Well, some groups follow it. Let me be specific. The more modern black Christian don't follow that. You eat pork, you eat all this shit you're not supposed to eat. They tell you don't do that. You don't pray and meditate and fast. You don't do none of these things because you want the safety net of, well, it's not what goes into a man's mouth, but what comes out of a man's mouth that defiles him. You're going to always see left and right. Old Testament, 613 laws. New Testament, we just going to rock with 10 of them. Who said you can throw away the rest of the 613 laws? Like, that's not the way this works. It's God, not the author of confusion and chaos. You know, if you really want to be connected to source, it's going to be some strictness. You're going to have to sacrifice and give up some shit. This is what happens when people combine. I'm not talking about women when I say feminism, but this is what happens when people combine feminism and religion. It gives this sense of safety, protection, free for all, and you ain't got to give up nothing to get to the next level. You're already good. That's not how this works. I think that's why some of the women have these highly intimate relationships with Christ, because it's like that becomes their man. Because I ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do
Man, I got I didn't know you feel. I was gonna drop a verse real quick, man.
that.
As you was talking, I remember about James 4:17. I said I forgot the verse. It was like, therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it does not do it. To him is a sin. Like people forget it. Like, oh yeah, hey, listen, I'll be forgiven. Like, fam, you forget if you know right from wrong and you
Your
don't do it,
judge,
it's a sin.
your judge will be more scrutiny, fam, because you know better. That
Mhm.
taps into your conscience and your free will. All of this is supposed to elevate your conscience so your free will aligns with the elevation within your conscience. It's not for you to keep being a sinner and being this lower natured filth crap
Right.
animal that you protest to be. Why you want to be that? Heaven is on earth. Every day
Mhm.
you wake up, you should be trying to attain heaven.
Heaven.
You're
And
trying
I
to
hear
live.
Papa said, he said it on that podcast. He said, you can have heaven on earth. And people were looking at him like, what? I was like, yo, that's crazy, bro, that you brought it up. I was like, I remember when he said that during his conversation moment. And speaking about heaven on earth, you can have it while you're here. And you don't have to have it when you die. And everybody's looking at him like, what are you talking about? That's the craziest thing. That's what's happening. For 22, he got it. He got it. As long as he stays on the path he's on and doesn't let nobody try to dim his light or chastise him or push him back, he got it. I was like, yo, y'all really forget it. That's why, like I said, James 4:17. I remember at one point in time, uh, I remember having one of our elders that came on here before Mikhail. I always forget how to pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking before, and I said, listen, man, look. I notice people keep sitting in a lot as if they always got all these chances. I was like, so I want to know, like, how many times does God forgive? He said, that was the verse he dropped. He said, hey, bro, once you know right from wrong, you keep doing it, it's a sin. It don't matter if you keep repenting, because at that point, it becomes what we said, hey, a habit. That's what they said. What they always say, listen, Monday through Saturday, they going to sin, but at church, they going to come as a new announcer, a new announced person all throughout church. And it's crazy. Sometimes it don't even last the whole Sunday. It literally lasts while it's in church. What Kevin Hart say in that in that regular game? He said, "Shit, you gotta keep your composure while you in church. I'm out now. I'm out now."
I came to I came to church with a condom on.
He said, "I'm about the slaves.
I
He's like,
forgot
you going to the
about
strip
that.
club after this? He said, strip club. He's like, what are you talking about? He said, listen, I got all the ones. I didn't put them in the offering plate. I was like,
I
come
forgot
on,
about
man.
that, bro.
That was a pure moment that niggas really have.
Mm-hmm.
In church, they're composed. The Lord talking to the sisters, talking to everybody. The minute is over, and man, somebody gonna get this. Somebody gonna get this.
Somebody gonna get this dick.
Hey,
Oh,
bro, I'm gonna listen to that song, church. As soon as we get off this, I'm gonna listen to it just so I can
I
laugh.
forgot all about that, bro. That's so crazy. But I tell y'all, man, I ain't gonna be too long winded. Jacob's ladder is within. That's why people follow the sensation of human chakras and that's spinal fluid going up to the spine, tapping into the brain, entering that Christ consciousness of God thinking mode. That's what people want to tap into every day. That's when you become like the Kemetic ancestors. That's why they wore the symbol of the serpents on their head. It was a symbol of their knowledge and wisdom, uh, reaching that certain crown chakra energy, so to speak. So, but I will say this: what Jonathan Major said, because I don't want to pass that up about how he felt about his wife and all that shit. And so, look, I'll tell you this: from a Noonian theurgy, from Kemetic teachings, it's always a greatness about the woman, and some people can take this too far. All of these things are parts of you that you connect with, also to get you to the highest version of yourself. But when you continue to do the work on yourself, you continue to experience an elevation of the people around you, meaning your friendship, your relationship shift, the women you come in contact with. All these things tend to shift towards your highest nature if that's what you really attaining to. So you don't have this connection of for the women they'll say it's a twin flame or a soulmate. For the men in the Jonathan Majors aspect, they go biblically and they say he who finds a wife finds a good thing, but the whole Bible is built on a hierarchy system to where it's God the Father, Christ, man, then woman, then children. So it's just interesting that people mix the feminism with the religion and they wipe out the entire system. It's not he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So we just gonna cry about our women and just be so, she's everything and all that. I'm not saying that that's not a beautiful connection to have with the woman or vice versa, a woman with a man. But notice in the teachings, I've never heard a woman, we laugh about this statement, but I've never heard a woman really say, I'd die about that dick. Major shift in the conversation, right? But a man, he'll die about a woman. That's not even his. Wars have been fought throughout history behind women. If a woman fall in love with a man and she's just so heart driven and she like, man, that's my guy, I'll go to hell for him in heaven. And guess what women gonna say, baby? I understand that, but you need to make your own money. You need to make sure you're straight. Because what if he leave? And what if that? And that'll pull those women out of these perfect situations to where they really got the energy that they should have for their man to tap into what Jonathan Majors is saying. I'm for her, she for me, us against the world. But the world will tell women, protect yourself. But for the men in the religious world, it's a simp side of it to where it's like, we're going to cry about these women and I need her and all that. And it's not a balance of the energy. It's not. So if a man do say, hey, bro, have your own money together, have this situated, they treat that dude like he a pimp. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or he's like, what we call him a red pill dude and things like that. And it's like, why everything got to be that chaotic, man? So I would just simply say, like, you believe in God, that's fine. God is within, and that God connects to other people who have God within them. So together, y'all become a force. So y'all balance each other out. It's not about needing that person, man or woman. It's about balancing each other out. So you're attracted to the balance, the alignment. So for dumber down conversation, I'm about my bread, she about her bread. We come together, we get this paper. That's a balance. I like sex, she likes sex. We come together, the sex crazy. That's a balance. Whatever the balance is. But if the balance is strictly based on I'm the best version of myself every day, she strives for that within herself, the connection lasts longer because it's built on the specific frequency. If it's built on the lower frequency, it might not last that long. Or if it lasts long, y'all might just be trapped. And that's another conversation. But yeah, we gotta eliminate the. I ain't saying Jonathan Majors a simp. I'm just saying we have to eliminate the simp culture that people attach it to with religion and relationships, because then now it's going to change the narrative to where if this man not crying over me 24/7 and shows complete vulnerability with me, he don't love me. And it's like, fam, like you got a man. You know, a lot of men don't show that vulnerable side with their woman.
No.
It's not because they're not connected. It's because once again they have a purpose. Man, y'all don't get me. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, man. Anything else about the podcast, College Attention, you want to speak on?
Keep watching the show. But no, for real though, we have these conversations, like you said in the beginning, comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. It's not to get your panties in a bunch. It's just to really make people think, you know, maybe it's something you're missing, maybe it's something you're not missing. I really would love to see the feedback on episodes, comment, give you viewpoints. Wouldn't disrespect nobody's religion, but make sure your religion is getting you to the next level, your spiritual system, whatever it is you attain to. And yeah, it shouldn't be no chaos within that, man. If everybody becoming a better version of themselves, everybody will respect each other and thrive in their own ways. You know, that's all. That's all I got.
All right, man. Sign us off then, man. If that's all you got, sign us off, man.
Up top, No Ordinary Brother, aka Juice. I go by the name of King Exodus. Make sure you tap into the YouTube channel, subscribe, share the content. We out.